Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to the video. This is a paid request, this time for Jack Frost. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos, it could be through PayPal, this is usually the best bet, or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is a film he wanted me to watch and review called Cure from 1997, which I'd never heard about it, but is an overseas Asian. It's hard to call a horror film. I mean, maybe a little bit in the vein of Seven, like that type of crime thriller horror, where a cop is on the case and these killings are happening, but each time he finds one of these crime scenes, someone will say that they have no memory of what happened, as if they didn't do it, they don't remember doing it. A lot of times there's an X carving or some type of X. How do I do it without revealing it? An X is involved at times in these crime scenes. I'll put it that way. And at one point or another, they do find an individual who may be some type of hypnotist. That, by the way he's talking and certain things of that nature, he can maybe push people or suggest to people to get more in terms of their darker, violent tendencies. And it's one of those films that is very much a slow burn, very heavily praised movie. And while it's not a film I was that gung-ho on, I do understand and respect what it was trying to do, because I do think there are elements that are effective, meaning the acting I thought was pretty decent by both the cop and the criminal. I thought it was an interesting choice that there's fairly little music throughout. And at times when a violent act happens, the director shows it in a wide shot. So it comes off as a bit more surprising, or it doesn't feel as exploitive or as stylistic. So, for example, there's a wide shot and there's a person standing here, and all of a sudden someone just comes out, poof, shoots the person. And I also think it did a nice job of, speaking of suggestions, suggesting stuff to the viewer, so it can kind of wrap your head around and assumptions of what's going on. It doesn't tie everything up into a tidy bow. That might infuriate some people, and I can understand that. And like I said, there are other pieces of media that I prefer over this, and I liked more. Like, I mean, if you talk about crime thrillers, Seven, a film called Resurrection with Christopher Lambert, there's other films like that I like more than this. Because I do think at times it got a bit slow, and it got a little bit boring for me. For me, it got a little bit boring from time to time. But I do appreciate what the movie was trying to tell about how easy it is for some people to be suggested, perhaps, and following their violent tendencies, whether someone got the promotion over you or anything of that sort. Our lead character, our cop, he's dealing with a wife who is mentally sick and doesn't know what he'll come home to find. At one point, he thinks he sees his wife hanged herself, but then he shakes it off and she's fine. So it's kind of a slow sinking of madness for our lead character. And it's kind of a take on madness within ourselves. And I do think there's a decent amount of people that could get into this. But at the same time, like I said, as it went along, I get what I was going for, but it just reminded me of other aspects I'd rather be watching, whether it be a slow burn detective story. I'd rather be watching the first season of True Detective. Even the plots of this film, there's 2 episodes of the X-Files that I prefer. It's kind of a combination of those two, Pusher and Grotesque. Because Pusher was a season 3 episode of the X-Files, where you had this guy that would kind of, with his will, push people into doing stuff they wanted them to do. And then grotesque is Mulder possibly slowly sinking into madness. In fact, there's a quote at the end there that you could take that quote and use it in this movie and it would work well. I would say, again, those two episodes, I prefer those more. Number one, because I'm an X-Files fan. Number two, I like the actors a bit more. Not that these actors are bad, but those actors I just like more. And because they're shorter and they didn't feel as boring. They felt better paced, in my opinion. But, I mean, like I said, this is definitely a film that a decent amount of people would like. But I'm being kind of vague so I don't give everything away. I guess to give more into spoilers, if I do that, might as well. It kind of goes into, like, one day you could be detective and then the next day you could be a murderer. And about, there's certain conversations between the detective and the psychiatrist about, why is it that some people do certain things and they go, well, maybe there is no explanation. We think so hard on looking for an explanation. That's not always the case. Sometimes with humanity being, a dark animal portion unto themselves, sometimes, sadly, shit happens. But if it was the case, I kind of wish it was a bit more, I don't know. It seems apparent that it is this person affecting people and suggesting it to people, and a little bit of a, supernatural. It's not blatant in the supernatural stuff, but you could tell, like, if there's more ambiguity that maybe this guy didn't do anything wrong, and maybe this guy's innocent, and these people really did just go crazy because, the spoilers, one cop didn't get the promotion, so he shoots another cop, or a pimp, or whatever, beats this woman with a pipe. Again, done in wide shots, so it's not too, like, gory, bloody, exploitive. That maybe if it was a bit more, you're not sure, I think that would make a bit more of an interesting story. In the case of madness, is the madness really propelled by someone, this type of hypnotist, leading you on, or is it just, it really is just these random events that just happen with this guy's fate, luck, or whatever, that he just happens to be around when these dealings go on. Like I said, I think that would actually be kind of interesting, but that's not the direction they wanted to go with. Even when you get to the finale, like the psychiatrist, he knows he's going crazy and he's trying to scrub this X off the wall, and you say the X kind of represents this curse, this change that he's going through, that he's losing his mind, and he doesn't want to go through that. So the next time the cops find him, you get the idea that he ended himself. And then the detective, I like the see, that's for me. I like the subtlety in this scene. That's why I think I wish the whole plot was a bit more, I don't know if subtle, maybe that's not the word I'm looking. Usually I'm against ambiguousness, but I would have preferred if it was ambiguous on whether this guy actually did cause these things or not. Like I said, and I'm usually a guy that's against ambiguity, but sometimes if it fits the right way, it can work, and I think that would have been more interesting here. But I know some people say that defeats the purpose. Spoiler, what happens, like I said, in the third act is after the whole thing with the psychiatrist, the cop is with his sick wife, and he's been talking with this killer. Which, to be honest, if I want to see two people argue with someone in a jail cell, I think in 1990 that was done a lot better in Exorcist 3. Because you have Brad Dourif and George C. Scott. And that's the thing, like, this wasn't bad, but it's just, it reminded me of stuff I prefer more. So again, the person in prison, the person cop talking, either, Silence of the Lambs with Jodie Foster, Hannibal Lecter, or again, Brad Dourif and George C. Scott, Exorcist 3. There's just other ones I prefer more. I got more out of in a personal sense. But after talking with him, you tell he's being affected, like other people are affected when they're around this guy. And when he's with his wife, you see him quickly pick up the knife. But not really. Like, before he picks up the knife, it cuts away, and it seems like he's taking his wife to this asylum for mental care and leaves it to the doctor. But the thing is, number one, you never see the wife again. And also, it cut away before he picked up the knife. So I guess maybe it's trying to be ambiguous on whether he did kill his wife or not. I think he did, because in the ride to the hospital, if you look in the background, it's clouds. As if they're in the sky, and as if this girl's taking a trip to heaven or something. Like, you see, like, blatant clouds pass by. Maybe some people don't catch them, but I swear there's, like, clouds passing by throughout the windows, and as if they're in the sky and stuff, so. I think that's what I saw, and that's what I take into account. And like with all these other people, they do stuff and then they don't remember it. So he might have done that and then he doesn't remember it. Or maybe he still thinks in his eyes that his wife is still in the asylum or whatever. And then finds the guy, shoots him, goes to a diner, talks to a waitress, smoking a cigarette, and you see the woman kind of go over here. Actually, she's over here, goes over here, randomly picks up a knife, walks off, cuts away, and then credits. And that's what I mean. I kind of like that the director would do things like that, where it's not a loud sound effect or music going dun 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 dun. Like I said, it's kind of like you watch it, but you have to pay attention. But oh wait a minute, did she pick up the knife? Wait, is she doing that? Like, it's kind of an audience participation in a way. It's not the movie leading you along in terms of music and, you know, closing in on her. It's like, it's pretty wide shot, and there's a bunch of other people in the foreground, and you really like have to pay a little bit of attention to see her do that. And I guess to let it believe that now this detective's going to have the curse that he taught, and people kind of subliminal will do violent acts. And like I said, the ending doesn't really give you a tidy bow, which I just try to annoy some people, but for other people, they find it more horrifying. So I don't think it was a bad film. It's not a film I would ever watch again. Like, again, it just kind of reminded me of certain episodes of X-Files that I prefer. Again, the hypnotist thing, like Pusher, the madness portion of Grotesque. I think both of them were season 3, which is why I think season 3 is probably my favorite season of the X-Files. Which actually, by the way, I'm doing this stuff with Uncle Bill from Dead Pit. Like, each week for a little bit, we're going to be talking about X-Files, so that's cool. So, sorry, I got that on the brain. But, like, this is a quote at the end of Grotesque by Fox Mulder. We work in the dark. We do what we can to battle the evil that would otherwise destroy us. But if a man's character is his fate, it's not a choice but a calling. Sometimes the weight of this burden causes us to falter from the fragile fortress of our mind, allowing the monster without to turn within. We are left alone staring into the abyss, into the laughing face of madness. Which I always thought was a very effective bit of that episode. So that's the thing, is that I could get that out of the X-Files, that I just prefer that over this movie. Again, not a bad movie. I definitely check out the trailer, check out other points of interest if you've gotten this far. See any movie for yourself, whether I liked or disliked it. Again, I don't hate the film or anything. It's just not a film I would ever see again. But it was, at least because of the mood of dread, it definitely did a nice job of giving a sense of dread throughout it, not being over the top in terms of the sound, as music, blaring horns, or anything. I think that was an effective job they was trying to detail, and people may be intrigued by the movie because of that. But that's up to the individual, of course. But with that said, thanks for watching. Thank you once again, Jack Frost, and we'll see you guys later.